Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, Faith Acolytes, we're gonna make something. So gather around. Come on in. This is a project that I've been talking about since last year, the later part, 2024, and it was meant to be a winter project that would see the culmination of this content. I'm actually filming this video a little before when I had in mind, partially because I'm tired of testing. I don't know if I've 100% got what I was hoping for. I think I'm reasonably within distance of that. But the project that I was undertaking, which I talked about a little bit in the Smokin' Ed's chocolate strawberry hot sauce review. You can see there's the bottle right there. You can see somewhat of this project in there, and it was to devise a sort of version of my own fire brownies. So we've got some things that don't really go in the fire brownies. I'm going to speak about them very briefly before I get into showing you the stages. This actually is a two distinct part recipe, because we have got, let's just go through. So we've got turbinado sugar right here, regular sugar right here, smoked habanero flakes. We've got, this is some diced, dried, I'm not sure what peppers these are specifically, but they are from the Long Crier hot sauce noodles video. You can check that out in the noodles playlist. This one is in the hot sauces playlist. We've got eggs, we've got butter, we've got Pam vegetable spray, we've got this Nielsen Massey vanilla extract, we've got Clever Girl baking powder, we've got this Dutch process. Super important to use this Dutch process if you want to make these, that is. Dutch process cocoa. This is actually Ghirardelli in here, but I didn't like the bag, so I put it back in this container. Kosher salt. We've got the J&B, what they call pepper flakes. I believe this is habanero and ghost right here. This one, that was from a Japan crate that I did in 2023. You can look at that in the everything else video if you're interested. There is a review for this as well, these habanero flakes. We've got the smoked ghost powder. Both this and the smoked habanero flakes are from Heat Hot Sauce Shop. There is separate videos for both of them. Canola oil, and we've got the King Arthur unbleached flour here. And I spoke about that a little bit in that other video, but the flour, I learned quite a bit about bleaching versus unbleaching from their website. So for this project, I decided to buy this. So one of the reasons I'm moving this up, and I'm just doing the video now, is a couple different factors. One is that I'm actually running out of stuff, and I don't necessarily want to go buy more of it, particularly not the eggs, because eggs are a bazillion dollars these days. But I would also have to buy butter. This actually is not enough butter for the recipe I was following. The original recipe you can find, by the way, on the Smokin' Ed's chocolate strawberry hot sauce video. If you're interested, there's a link there. I will link to this video as well, because in the process of making stuff, I'm not going to repeat what I already did in that video, nor am I going to include it in this one. If you want to see the process of making the actual brownies themselves, go watch that video, because it is all laid out there completely live as I do it. What I'm going to do for this video is to just film the different parts of it. So obviously I didn't use a lot of this stuff in those brownies, The idea that I really wanted to have was not quite, I would say, it didn't quite manifest for this the way that I hoped it would. But what I found was something in some ways a lot more interesting. So the idea was to make, this video is called Fire Brownies, to make that. But the idea was to have brownie, and then all of a sudden you get some really nice chili flavor. So that was the goal, but I really like the shiny tops. I really like super, super dense, moist brownies. So that was all of that in mind. And obviously I had to do a couple things. The first of all was to get a brownie recipe that was repeatable that I could just do every single time. So I did that, and along the way I've made personally, directly myself, the best brownies I've ever had in my life as a part of this process. Will the brownies I make in this video rank near the top of that? I don't know. But the brownies actually in this, the chocolate strawberry hot sauce video, those brownies are the best I've had in my life. It is not even close. Just a fantastic addition. And I learned, I've never made brownies prior to starting this project, and I learned quite a lot about it. The second thing is what I'm going to be showing you next. And in order to devise this, I had to learn how to make chili oil, or a version of chili oil. And I like the idea of chili crisps. So trying to come up with a way that I could sort of integrate that, but also not have it overpower the brownies. And I didn't want elements like onion and garlic and some of the other aromatics that they sometimes will put in chili oil. I didn't want any of that. I just wanted basically a straightforward sort of chili crisp sort of thing that I could then swirl in to the brownies like it was a cheesecake and I was putting like raspberry or blueberry swirls in it. That did not quite pan out the way I had hoped. But I found something that had a reference to it that was not foreseen by me when I started this. And that will be coming up at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that if you want to see it. But so real quick here. So the only thing that this is for the chili concoction, the chili oil concoction. So this we will do right as we make the last brownies. So this, all the peppers and the canola oil are for two separate things. So we're actually doing two things. We're doing one, we're making a chili oil, which we'll be doing right after I finish yapping here. And the second thing will be to bring it all together into a final brownie form. So I do this over the course of days, right? So I make the chili oil. It sits an entire day before I get to it the next day. So right now I'm filming this a day ahead of when I will actually make the brownies. Just to give you kind of a time scale. You don't have to do that, but you do want to make sure that the oil is very, very much room temperature before you start trying to integrate it in with the brownies. So with all that out of the way, let's get to making the chili oil. Okay, so this is all the stuff we need for the chili oil because I'm not doing the aromatics. There are a lot of different ways of doing a chili oil. Future Canoe has one that he seems to like pretty well, but we're not really making traditional chili oil per se. We're making something with a very targeted purpose, which is to go in these brownies. So I'm just throwing in the extra flakes. What we really want, we want no more than 3 tablespoons. Okay. And I use this sort of tablespoon right here. Ooh, boy, you can smell these. So we're just going to put in that much of smoked habaneros. So all of the other chilies I had left, that much of the smoked habaneros, and this should give us enough texture. Don't worry if it gets too far out of hand, because the very final step will be this, and I'll show you that once we get closer to making the actual brownies. But like I said, this is the day before. So from there, we're going to put in this, which is the chili. They call it chili flake. It's more of a powder. Okay, a tablespoon of that. You can put whatever you want in this, really. And I'm just trying to... So I found that 3 tablespoons works great. Oop. And there's the smoked ghost pepper. Okay, so all we're doing is putting this in a bowl. You want to have, if you do have chunks like I just did, you want that at the bottom. Put the powder on top. Don't worry about integrating it. Don't worry about remoisturizing it or anything like that. Just leave it as is for now. So we've also got a candy thermometer, some oil, a pan, and we're going to be reusing this. This is basically for stirring at the end. I'm just including it here so that we have it, but we won't be using this until later on down the line. So what we're going to do now is move over to the stove. So I'm just going to put the bowl there so that we have it. And I try to see if I can show you how to actually read this. Okay, so you can see that blue right there, right? So that blue is at about 75 degrees right now, room temperature. So we want it to be 350. So all we're going to do is just keep measuring the oil until it gets close. Now canola oil is nice because it's a high heat oil, which is what we need. So as far as quantity wise, what I do is I put one of these for each tablespoon of dry. So we have, I put 3 in there, but I also had those extra dry, so I'm going to put 5. Okay, 5 tablespoons. And I need to get, you want to try to keep this ratio as close as possible. It is just a lot easier that way. So we're going to let this drip off here. And then I'm going to throw the heat on about 8. And you got to kind of keep an eye on this a little bit so that it doesn't scorch and it doesn't pop and it doesn't bubble. So there you can see I've got it on 8 right now. And it won't take super long because you can see we don't have a lot of oil in there. The oil is going to get very, very watery once it gets close. See, it's very thick now. It doesn't flow particularly well. I'm embarrassing myself with the absolute state of my pan, but I don't really use it for doing stuff other than this, so, you know, whatever. I do need to buy some new pans someday, though. Maybe once all that big YouTube money starts rolling in, huh? Let's get a measure on it right now. So we don't want to actually touch the bottom. I don't know if you can even see any of this. So it's at about 100 right now. We're going to come back once it gets closer to 350. When you're doing this, just make sure you don't touch the probe to the bottom of the pan. So it's a lot more watery right now. I don't know if you can, how much of that you can see or not. We're approaching 200. So with this small amount of oil, it happens super, super quickly. Do not leave it unattended. You have to stay and watch this baby. Otherwise, it's a small amount, but you could have an oil fire And if it gets bad enough, you could have an electrical fire on top of everything. And who needs that? In this economy, are you kidding? Try to make sure that you have a very clean pan when you're doing this as well. Any contaminants in there will try to pop and bubble and cook and stuff. So just bear that in mind. So you can see, hopefully you can see, it's falling down to about 160. Let's take another sample. Try not to run it past, too much past 350. So right now we're approaching 300. So we have probably another 15 seconds left, give or take. Okay, so this is racing to 350. It is plenty hot enough. I'm turning off the burner now, okay? Do that before you start monking with the rest of this. All right. And here's all we're gonna do is take that hot oil, just dump it. Dump it right in there. Be careful how much hot pepper that you're gonna put in there, because otherwise you'll gas yourself. Oh, the way that I just did. But there you can see. Now, we want to leave this. Actually, you can give it a stir if you want. Not really a reason to, because I put the actual solid pieces on the bottom. I will anyway. And just leave it. Leave it overnight, which is what we're going to do right now. And then we're going to come back and start banging on the brownies. Okay, so briefly before I start putting the wet and dry together, because things happen fast after that point, we want to dial this up. So this is our chili oil that has been sitting overnight, room temperature. Okay, give it a quick stir if you want. I do this so I can see how dense it is. You can see it's still, so this is actually almost exactly, I don't know that you would never want any texture better than that actually. So from here, because I wanted a crisp, I wanted some crisp to it or crunch, I decided to go with some sugar crystals, and I needed larger ones. I love turbinado sugar, so I got sugar in the raw. And all we're doing is throwing that in there. So what we want to do is, this is too liquidy. So here's why we set it overnight, because we want it to actually cool down so it doesn't melt the sugar. Okay. So 1 tablespoon there is not enough. Let's do 2. Okay, so there we go. This is what we want to see. You can hear it. You can hear the crystals. We don't want the crystals to melt. We just want them to pull out. So I probably could have actually gone with a teaspoon there. This will still work, but I normally would want it just a touch more liquidy than this. Okay, so we're gonna set this aside, and I'll come back once I have mixed the liquid with the dry and gotten it into the pan to show you what the next step is. Okay, so the main difference with this batch, this is sort of the batch notes, is that it has 2 tablespoons of this as opposed to 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon from the video for this review of this hot sauce, Smokin' Ed's chocolate strawberry, the hot version. So you might have noticed, oh, also it's closer to 3/4 to 1 as far as oil to butter, because I didn't have as much butter for this for the recipe. So that aside, you might have noticed in the other video that I took it and I dropped the pan and tried to get it to settle. I have not done that with this one as of yet, because it really won't matter. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw our sugared chili crisp and just random areas. Get some of that. Okay. And I have tried coating the edges and leaving it on top. I didn't like it that way, so I'm not doing that for this one. But then we are going to take our 2 skewers, and all we're going to do is just try to integrate it in to the batter here. Hopefully you guys are seeing this okay. And this is going to do something a little interesting when it bakes. But I will also say you can kind of forget the shiny tops. You're not really going to get that. Okay, so there this is. And we are now just going to take it and throw it into the oven for 32 minutes at 350, and then we'll be right back from there. Okay, so as we did last time, we're going to see how much it shimmies and shakes. This is not a lot, this is fine. So you can kind of see what's going on there. If it shakes just a little bit, that's fine, because it will continue to bake, even though we have it on a cooking rack, for a few more minutes and it'll fully complete, so I'm not worried about that. So what we're gonna do is let it cool for half an hour to an hour, somewhere in there, and then we will come back and take a look at it so you can see just what we've created here. Okay, and we are back, and so here's what it looks like when it's cooled slightly. And what I love about this is that, to me, this looks like the surface of a planet in the solar system somewhere, or perhaps elsewhere. And so I like looking at images of other planets and so on, and that's kind of what this sort of thing looks like to me. Just the different formations and stuff. See, there's all the chili bits of goodness. So let's grab our device here, and I like it a little warm, so let's see, is that? So we're still just a tad warm here. So we'll just take I'm not going to take it out of the center this time. You can see me do that, though, if you're interested in the video for the chocolate strawberry hot sauce. Look at that. Look at that. All right, so this should be quite a bit hotter than that other sauce. Not only is there more of that hot sauce in there, but we've added a bunch of other chilies as well. So wow. The smokiness of the habaneros and that ghost powder. Oh man. Wow, this is really good. This is quite punchy, and so what I really wanted was something, those little crystals of salt in there. This is just fantastic, really. Even the edges are moist. What I really wanted was a brownie that tasted more like a brownie, but had a good, solid heat component to it as well. And that's what this is. This is quite punchy, I must say. And it ranges too. This is predominantly a brownie, but you get these hits of different pepper in there. And so it's inconsistent heat. It's not just straight blazing. You get a patch that's hotter than another patch. I'd say the peak of this, we're probably hitting a 2 on my scale. Oh man. The crunchy bits of sugar with the chilies. I really like, though, how it looks like maybe an area of Mars or something like that that's been bombed with space debris. Just different meteorites and stuff hitting it. So if you want to do very hot sciencey type brownies, you could do this. The astronomy. The astronomy brownies, maybe. Yeah. Absolute dynamite. So there it is, the fire brownie, along with all the steps it takes to make this, so that you can create something like this if you want to as well. I don't know how to get, so you can see the bits of chili and sugar and whatnot break up the surface, so you can't get the shiny across the whole thing. There's not really a way of doing that. And then looking at the cross section, the rivulets of flavor, like the cheesecake, it is too dark of a color for that to work. But it does work from a flavor perspective. There are bites in here. They're very much brownie. There are some that are like salted brownie. There are some salted dark chocolate brownie, that is. There are some where you get some of that nice chili flavor. There is some where you get a little bit more of the smoke from those smoked chilies. You just got to be really, so finding a good balance, like I showed you there, because I didn't want this to be overpowering chili. I wanted it to be a brownie first with some heat and integrating chili into the mix. That's really what we were trying to do here. And I will say that we've achieved that extremely proficiently here. So anyway, yeah, that was several weeks of baking adventure, and I probably would have strung out longer if eggs weren't $1 zillion, but it takes a lot of stuff, and honestly, I'm kind of tired of brownies at this point. So it's a good time to shutter this and see what adventure I come up with next. It was really fun. I really enjoy learning stuff, and I learned a lot about something I knew practically nothing about prior to doing this. And that's part of the beauty of adventuring. So, But yeah, we'll just leave it right there. That was the fire brownies. Now go forward in peace to serve the flame.